whole fear mongering of China this, China that, China, China, China.
We were surprised to find out that the America First Tea Party has actually gone after our movie, and they set up a petition against it, and they sent out a press release, and it's right here on the screen, and we were named basically as being Chinese propaganda operatives. And as soon as we started reading it, we just couldn't stop laughing. It didn't even seem real at first.
Congress to take action to maximize the domestic production and development of critical minerals to reduce our dependence on China. That's because China produces around 2/3 of the world's lithium and cobalt. There is no doubt that China fears your ability to safeguard our critical minerals.
What he's saying right now is that the county commissioners are corrupt.
The first thing that comes up in my mind is I want to now dig deeper.
Common Sense America is an advocacy group dedicated to advancing common sense policy solutions.
And then I want to go and start following the money. Who's funding this organization and what legislators are involved with this? And is the industry themselves funding this organization and the individuals?
According to the Pew Research Center, 67% of Americans, an overwhelming majority, understand China's threat to our very way of life.
A lot of hypocrisy when we talk about China, right? They are so worried about China. They're so worried about them even getting on the moon before us.
What happened is we're in a space race too, where China now has returned samples from the moon. They've landed on the polar region of the moon. They're leading the way of getting back to the moon.
And the reason they're worried about that is it goes right back to mining. We want to have the power over the mining rights on the moon, which sounds really asinine to me. And then they're talking about mining here on Earth. They're talking about lithium. But then you look at people like Elon Musk, and where does he get most of his parts for Tesla? From China.
They're not going to come to the shoreline with guns and rifles. They are going to take over from within economically. And we have allowed all foreign countries to buy up our real estate, buy up our corporate and municipal bonds to the point where they basically can control the financial markets here in the United States. That's what the real story is. Our policies affect their policies, and then you want to demonize them for responding.
Sitting there claiming that we're some crazy Chinese operatives. This guy that is speaking right now, he is the operative.
A Hollywood production company controlled by a Chinese national, Cinema Libre Studios, produced a propaganda
It is not.
a film that demonizes the critical mineral and was used as part of a larger influence campaign to encourage local governments to support policies that ban phosphate mining.
It's very misleading in the fact that he's making it seem like this was specifically created to try to completely get rid of phosphate mining industry. And that has never once been stated in the movie. It was never stated at any of the community meetings we've had.
These documentaries are an example of how real and imminent threat of Chinese infiltration.
He says these documentaries, but he only names one documentary very specifically. Seeing that and knowing the truth and him bringing that up as an example, as a fear-mongering example, makes everything else he says in this entire subcommittee, to me, so irrelevant, because he loses credibility.
Production company controlled by a Chinese national.
We did an Indiegogo to raise money for the movie. We raised about $1,200. And that is the budget of the movie. It's crazy to me that, first of all, he has no proof. Second of all, that they are my distributor, never were the producers. So automatically what he's saying is incorrect 100%. I shot the movie, I paid for the movie, I paid for the movie, and then eventually found a distributor that would be willing to stand up against a major corporation.
And I like how he says this goes beyond just Hollywood. If anybody has watched this documentary, they know that we don't have Hollywood funds. This is something that anybody could have put together passionately to share their passion on the water quality issue.
They're saying that Cinema Lead put the movie together as a propaganda piece, which would mean it would be scripted, which would mean all of you are Chinese actors, I guess. All of you are such patriots. Everybody in this movie, in their own way, because they're fighting for nature and they're fighting for their state to be the best it can be. It's about what you care about, and that goes beyond politics.
We still operate on the assumption that we try to bring change through a democratic process. The majority voice really no longer matters because our democracy's been replaced by this corporate oligarchy that pays the players to change the rules that they want to play by. So we are up against a massive effort to bring effective change through the political framework. And this is where rights protections, creating the highest level of law, is the path forward to bringing effective change expediently.
They are actively working against it.
Doing a little research on Mr. Krim, he's actually the one that originated all of this. We seem to see his rhetoric and what he's trying to do. Unfortunately, this is testimony in a subcommittee hearing. So this is put on record. These are completely fabricated statements that aren't real, that are now considered truth. And so I think it's really important that we need to set the record straight. Mr. Krim is a political operative. He's actually being sued right now in another Florida county for defamation.
So they can take this small sliver of misinformation, disinformation, and they just keep repeating it and beating it, and they have the money to expand it.
Environmental groups hinders mining and production of America's own critical minerals.
The Right to Clean Water ballot initiative, the amendment would not restrict them. It would just require them to do it responsibly.
Laying the foundation and the groundwork for what's to come. And I think every American and patriot should be very concerned about the erosion of their rights. And I continuously say that because we have a United States Constitution. And in that Constitution, we have the freedom of speech, we have the freedom of the press, and we have rights for a reason. And what we're seeing unfold throughout the years is an erosion of those rights. And so what they're really attacking here in this subcommittee, and especially by not inviting you guys to come and testify before the subcommittee, and being able to push this type of narrative out without having the other side of the story, is what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork for the erosion of freedom of speech. And what they're saying is we want you guys to shut up, sit down, and stop talking about this.